So good evening, Northeastern Law graduates, and welcome to your reunion class reception. So we've had a couple of really spectacular events already. We had a Back to Class event, which featured our fabulous faculty talking about what they're doing to impact the world and about the teaching to our current students. That was fantastic. Then this morning we had conversations that included conversations with 7 of your fellow graduates from various kind of sectors and occupations, ranging from filmmaking, creative writing, corporate lawyers, litigators, et cetera. And the kind of common thread throughout all of those conversations was really the outstanding achievements of all of those graduates and the impact of those graduates, which is really reflective of you. You know, one of the things that I enjoy most about being a dean is having discussions with our graduates and the amazing contributions that you make to society, which makes my job all the more, or provides inspiration for my job. So thank you very much for all that you do for me and for the world. We have 220 of you here today and throughout the 2 days. So tremendous turnout. That requires teamwork, so I want to thank some folks. First, thanks to the reunion committees for all the work that you have done to recruit your fellow classmates to attend and to contribute. Thanks to our wonderful advancement team, Lindsay Sedonis, Miel Marquis, Ayana Williams, and Julianne Griffin, right? This would not have happened without them. I want to particularly thank everyone who contributed to Northeastern University School of Law in honor of your reunion. That means so much to us as an institution. Your contributions fuel what we do in terms of programming, in terms of graduating students, supporting public interest, and the mission of the law school. So now I am going to turn to the introduction of our speaker, Katherine McHugh. Katherine McHugh is a class of 1974. That's why I see it up front. And celebrating her 50th Northeastern Law reunion. I had a couple of opportunities to interact with the class of 1974 this weekend. One was over late night drinks at a reception last night. I had to leave. It was too late for me. I had to get up the next morning. But class of 74 was still hanging in there. It was wonderful, wonderful. And also today over lunch. And then I had an opportunity to talk to Katherine about the lunch conversation, and she was telling me about how profound it was to hear the stories of her classmates, the impact that they have had throughout their careers, and the varied places and journeys that they had taken throughout their careers. And I saw that in my conversations with your class as well as all of the graduates here. It comes as no surprise, though, because I've had the opportunity to interact with Kathy on several occasions. At one point, I was working for Joseph Aoun directly, not work for him indirectly, but directly as his chief of staff, and would have conversations with Kathy at directors meeting, board of directors meetings, and always took away her wisdom and sage advice. So that's definitely reflected in the class of 1974. So some of Kathy's journeys. She spent 15 years as a civil trial lawyer, and then transitioned into the nonprofit world, served as Director of Program Development for Mass Inc., also Director at EdVestors. Then moved on to become a philanthropic advisor for several family foundations in Boston, most recently the Cabot Family Charitable Trust. She has served on many nonprofit boards as president of the Greater Boston Legal Services, as well as serving on the boards of National Consumer Law Center, Civil Liberties Union of Massachusetts, and as I mentioned before, Northeastern University Board of Trustees. I also do want to point out that we have a current Board of Trustee member here, Susie Dietz, who is not a Northeastern Law graduate, but definitely a friend of the law school, and we always appreciate your support for the law school. Kathy was bestowed an honorary degree from the university in 2008. In addition to her JD, she holds a BA from Smith College. Without further ado, welcome Kathy McHugh to the podium. Kathy.
Wow, this is a great crowd. It's fantastic. I am so honored and humbled to be standing up here before you because so many of you have had such rich and rewarding careers that have made such an incredible difference in the world we live in, and I really stand in awe of everything that you all have done and are doing. Even if not practicing law, all of you seem to be trying to live righteous lives and have remained the same social justice warriors that you were when you graduated. I doubt there's another law school that could say the same thing. So, the class of '74, we were students when President Nixon's henchmen broke into a campaign office, stole documents, and tried to install listening devices. The Senate Watergate hearings had us mesmerized, huddled around a small black and white TV, which I just recently learned was a contribution by one of our classmates, not by the law school, in the student lounge, sometimes skipping class if a major witness was testifying. What did the president know, and when did he know it? Lawyers were heroes then. As senators, committee counsel, and Justice Department investigators. Some initial partisanship gave way to universal horror. The judiciary, when called upon, upheld the rule of law, and in the end, members of the president's own party ultimately forced him to resign. As students, many of us felt guilty about all the studying we were not doing. But boy, did we learn a lot about the role of lawyers and their power and obligation to uphold the rule of law, whether we recognized it at the time or not. Today, there are still long-standing traditions of lawyers serving their communities and those in need in numerous ways, representing death row inmates in Guantanamo Bay, death row inmates or detainees at Guantanamo Bay, serving on community and nonprofit boards and committees, and seeking to advance the causes of justice in many other important ways that rarely draw attention. I participated in a national effort to salvage federal funding for civil legal services against a determined effort to dismantle it. Climate lawyers are seeking to hold corporations to account for their profligate disregard for the planet and its resources. In addition to pursuing social justice objectives, these lawyers are reinforcing a system of laws, regulations, and norms that govern our society, even if they find them flawed in one way or another. But many of the lawyers who have been in the news in the last few years are different, and it frequently hasn't been pretty. Too many have fallen under the thrall of misguided clients, unable or unwilling to distinguish reality from fiction or to stand firm on the basic principles of our profession. Right. Those lawyers have dressed up lies and half-truths, giving them voice and credibility they didn't deserve, in many cases in a court of law. Their actions have threatened the foundations of our democracy and weakened our trust as a nation in the rule of law. Legal organizations have stood up to hold them accountable, and many have been disbarred, a law professor among them. But their legacy of sowing distrust in our institutions has persisted and brought the fragility of our democracy and the rule of law into stark relief. Never has the value and importance of legal ethics been more evident. But it's really much more than legal ethics, because the devastating consequences of their very public actions are still unfolding. How did this happen? There are, of course, no simple answers or signposts showing where the wrong path began. But I have a sense that it happened, at least in part, because lawyers forgot or ignored the role that they and our profession play in respecting the formal and informal institutions, governmental and otherwise, that benefit us all. Those institutions hold us together as a nation with common goals. Our respect is not blind. We also have an important role in helping or forcing those institutions to evolve to meet the demands of a changing world. But that's different from seeking to destroy them or pervert them to achieve personal ends. In Boston, for example, in the same time period as the Watergate hearings, legal advocates were continuing years of pro bono litigation to make our public schools in Boston work for all children, a goal that remains elusive today. Today, lawyers struggle to overhaul our immigration system so that it works both for American citizens as well as for the many thousands of desperate foreigners seeking to build a better life here. The legal profession has changed in the years since I graduated, driven often by financial pressure and also by the demands and expectations of clients. Clients come in all sizes and shapes, often coming to us for help in a crisis of some sort, and full of conflicting emotions driving what they present as goals to be achieved through legal action. As lawyers, we're trained to sort through all of that and to recommend actions to reach resolution. But we must also maintain perspective and need not, indeed must not, embrace goals born of emotional needs for retribution, punishment, and truly anti-democratic outcomes. Individually and as a profession, we as lawyers simply must recognize that some client goals are at the same time both perfectly legal and perfectly wrong. And consequently, there are some lines that we simply will not cross to achieve them. As this entire ugly chapter continues to play out on the national stage, I am left with immense gratitude for our wonderful law school and the principled legal education it provided to us all. High among the many things I took away from my time in law school are the strong values that were communicated every day in class, the exploration of the broader context in which the law operates, and an appreciation for the complex role that we as lawyers occupy, both in the evolution of the law and in the lives of our clients and those whose lives they touch. And more importantly, the role we play in our interface with clients to reinforce the importance of the rule of law as foundational to our democracy and to the institutions on which it's based. Which, of course, brings me back to all of you and the immense pride that I feel as I learn about the very consequential things that all of you are involved in and have been involved in that seek to build a better world. At the same time, you're reinforcing the foundations on which that world was first conceived. Thank you for all you do.